faithfully delivering value and interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, the book we'll be interpreting for you is called A Comprehensive History of Yugoslavia. The author is Mashi Pu, an expert on Balkan issues and a special researcher at the Development Research Center of the State Council's Institute of Eurasian Social Development. From 1982 to 1985, he studied and lived in Yugoslavia, gaining firsthand experience of its history and culture. Yugoslavia is a country that no longer exists, but it was once the largest and most powerful nation on the Balkan Peninsula. From 1918 to 1992, during its more than 70 years of existence, the world underwent dramatic changes, including the brutal World War II, the prolonged Cold War, and countless upheavals. Almost every time, Yugoslavia managed to survive safely and attract international attention with its unique stance. Until the early 1990s, it plunged into a bloody civil war and eventually split into 6 republics. As a country, Yugoslavia became a historical term, but this doesn't mean the South Slavs have exited the stage of history. In fact, as an important branch of the Slavic people, the South Slavs have settled in the Balkan Peninsula for over 1,500 years, creating a splendid civilization. To this day, many writers, scholars, and artists remain active in the public eye, such as Marina Abramović, a pioneer of Western performance art, and Slavoj Žižek, the most influential contemporary Western Marxist scholar. They are all South Slavs and spent the first half of their lives in Yugoslavia. Chinese people also have deep memories of Yugoslavia. The Yugoslav film Walter Defends Sarajevo was spiritual nourishment for generations. The theme song Goodbye, Friend, and the classic line The air is trembling, as if the sky is burning, were widely popular. The book A Comprehensive History of Yugoslavia we're discussing today outlines the struggles of the South Slavs over millennia and the rise and fall of Yugoslavia with clear strokes. My narration will be divided into 5 parts. Part 1, Early History of the Balkan Peninsula and the South Slavs. Part 2, Fighting for Independence, Breaking Free from Foreign Rule. The Powder Keg of Europe, the 2 World Wars, and the Birth of Yugoslavia. Part 4, Maintaining Balance, Navigating between the Eastern and Western blocs. Part 5, Collapse, the process of Yugoslavia's dissolution. And finally, we'll discuss the aftermath of the dissolution. Okay, let's begin now. Part 1, Early History, the South Slavs and the Balkan Peninsula. In the southeastern part of the European continent, there are 2 peninsulas that extend deep into the Mediterranean Sea. One is the Apennine Peninsula, where Italy is located today, and the other is the Balkan Peninsula. The term Balkan originates from Turkish, meaning mountains or mountainous. This vividly depicts the geographical features of the Balkans. Mountains stretch continuously, with range upon range. According to statistics, mountains occupy about 70% of the entire Balkan area. In a broad sense, the Balkan region includes over a dozen countries, like Romania, Bulgaria, Serbia, Greece, etc. However, generally, when people talk about the Balkans, they mainly refer to the 6 republics of the former Yugoslav Federation: Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, Macedonia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Montenegro, as well as 2 autonomous provinces, Kosovo and Vojvodina. They have different customs and beliefs, but they're all considered Slavs, and their languages belong to the Slavic language family, so they can communicate with each other. The Slavs aren't a unified nation, but rather more like a tribal alliance. In ancient Europe, they were spread across a vast area, stretching from east of present-day Germany all the way to Russia. From the 4th to the 6th century A.B., these Slavic tribes gradually split into 3 major branches: East, West, and South. The one that entered the Balkan Peninsula is called the South Slavs. They're considered the common ancestors of modern Bulgarians, Serbians, and Croatians. Due to the crisscrossing mountains that carve the Balkans into various basins and valleys, Even a small plain is isolated by high peaks from the outside world. So, Slavic tribes were basically fragmented, governing independently, and the South Slavs struggled to maintain ethnic homogeneity. This is because they intermarried with local indigenous peoples and also blended with other ethnic groups that later entered the Balkans. For example, ancient Croatians were originally Balkan natives. After the Slavs arrived, they started adopting the Slavic language and customs, slowly integrating into the South Slavs, a process called Slavicization. File, file. In this context, the scattered South Slavic tribes grew more diverse, and the only thing linking them was the Slavic language. Starting from the 9th century AD, some South Slavic tribes gradually developed into states, such as the Kingdom of Serbia, the Kingdom of Bosnia, and the Kingdom of Croatia. Next, we'll use Serbia's journey as an example to illustrate. Serbia is located in the central northern part of the Balkan Peninsula, with the Orthodox Christian Byzantine Empire to its southeast. In the late 9th century, Serbians converted to Orthodox Christianity and came under Byzantine rule. By the mid-12th century, internal and external crises caused Byzantine territory to shrink dramatically, giving Serbians room to expand. They seized this opportunity to rise, annexing much territory that originally belonged to Byzantium. In 1189, a tribal leader named Nemanja founded the Kingdom of Serbia and continued encroaching on Byzantine lands. This reached its peak during the reign of the 11th king, Stefan Dušan. Dušan first secured his eastern flank by marrying into neighboring Bulgaria. Then, exploiting Byzantine civil strife, he launched continuous attacks, advancing to central and northern Greece. At its height, Serbia controlled about two-thirds of the Balkan Peninsula. In 1345, shortly after proclaiming himself emperor, Dušan gained Orthodox Church recognition and was crowned Emperor of the Serbs, Greeks, Bulgarians, and Albanians. This title shows Dušan aimed to transform Serbia into an empire and become the supreme ruler of the South Slavs. So, could Dušan's vision be realized? The answer is no. This was determined by the Balkan Peninsula's external circumstances. Serbia's rapid expansion wasn't solely due to its own strength, but largely benefited from the Turks. The Turks originated in Central Asia, gradually migrating west to Byzantine-ruled Asia Minor and Anatolian Plateau, modern Turkey's heartland. Now, skilled warriors, by the early 14th century, they controlled this region, establishing the Ottoman Empire, while Byzantium clung desperately to Constantinople. Preoccupied with fighting the Turks, Byzantium neglected its western frontier, allowing Serbia to seize territory. Now, with Byzantium dying, Serbia faced the Ottomans directly. From the mid-14th century, Ottoman forces frequently crossed the Dardanelles to raid. They successively occupied southern Bulgaria and most of Macedonia, posing a direct threat to Serbia. Facing formidable enemies, Serbia united with Bosnia, Bulgaria, Albania, and others to form the Balkan Alliance Army against the invasion. On June 15, 1389, the Balkan Alliance and Ottoman forces fought a decisive battle on the Kosovo plain, with the former ultimately defeated. This battle destroyed the main military forces in the Balkans, making Ottoman conquest of the region only a matter of time. The Ottoman Empire first captured Bulgaria, then conquered Constantinople in 1453, destroying the Byzantine Empire before turning back to deal with the remnants of the Balkan Alliance. In 1459, the Kingdom of Serbia fell. In 1460, Greece fell. Afterwards, Boston and Herzegovina, Albania, and other regions also submitted to the Ottoman Empire. However, Ottoman expansion was halted in the Northwest Balkans by another power, the Habsburg monarchy of Austria. The Habsburgs were an ancient Central European family that long monopolized the German throne and Holy Roman Emperor title, known as the Habsburg monarchy's Golden Age. This dynasty controlled vast territories including present-day Austria, Spain, Germany, Czechia, Hungary, etc. Among these, Hungary had already annexed the Kingdom of Croatia in the Northwest Balkans, and another northwestern region as early as the early 12th century. Slovenia, bordering Austria, came under direct Habsburg rule even earlier, thus establishing Austrian control. The pattern where the rest of the northwestern Balkan Peninsula belonged to the Ottoman Empire, combined with significant differences in politics, economy, religion, and culture, led to growing disparities among South Slavs under these two governance models. One common goal emerged: freeing themselves from foreign rule and striving for national independence. Part 2, Fighting for Independence and Breaking Free from Foreign Rule, will narrate this process. Here we'll mainly discuss the situation in Ottoman-ruled areas, including present-day Serbia, Bulgaria, Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, etc. Overall, Ottoman rule wasn't particularly harsh. Conversely, unified central administration quelled Balkan internal conflicts, and the empire granted considerable freedom to certain regions. For example, in Montenegro, the empire didn't set up administrative institutions, but allowed locals autonomy as long as they paid taxes on time. So, historically, Montenegrins are known for loving freedom, and this governance method benefited social stability and economic development. And this was known as the Ottoman-style peace. The Ottoman Empire's greatest impact on the Balkans was changing the religious demographic structure. Previously, South Slavs mainly believed in Christianity or Orthodoxy, while the influx of Ottomans brought Islam. At the same time, the Ottoman Empire granted Muslims privileges like tax exemption and higher social status, which made other believers envious. Many people converted to Islam. According to statistics, after 100 years of Ottoman rule, Muslims in the Balkan Peninsula reached 19% of the total population. In some areas, like today's Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina, almost everyone became Muslim. This infused diversity into Balkan religious culture, but also caused dissatisfaction among some Christians. Plus, feudal lords heavily exploited peasants. So, from the early days of rule, some South Slavs kept organizing resistance movements. This lasted for centuries, but these small-scale rebellions were originally insufficient to shake the empire's ruling foundation. However, with the decline of the Ottomans, the situation changed. From the late 17th century to the late 18th century, over more than 100 years, the Russian Empire and the Ottoman Turkish Empire fought 10 wars, collectively known as the Russo-Turkish Wars. The Ottomans suffered consecutive defeats, losing large territories, and the empire's control over the Balkans loosened. Thus, South Slavs became eager to break free from foreign rule, especially Serbia, which tried to rebuild its kingdom. The Ottoman Empire carried out harsh suppression, killing over 150 Serbian local leaders at once, but this only provoked greater backlash. In April 1877, Russia declared war on the Ottomans again, marking the outbreak of the 10th Russo-Turkish War. After fierce fighting, Russian troops approached Istanbul, the Ottoman capital. Meanwhile, people in Serbia, Montenegro, and other areas rose up in rebellion with Russian support. They're facing internal and external crises. The Ottoman Empire had to sign a treaty with Russia, recognizing the independence of Bulgaria, Serbia, and Montenegro. This meant the central and northern Balkan regions officially broke free from Ottoman rule. With the Ottoman Empire ruling and the already independent Kingdom of Greece, Ottoman territory in the Balkans was reduced to just Macedonia and Albania in the Central Peninsula. And even these were hard to hold on to, as the newly formed Balkan states all wanted to claim them. This set the stage for the two Balkan Wars. First, we'll discuss the First Balkan War. In August 1912, uprisings broke out in Macedonia and Albania. Ottoman forces suppressed them, causing civilian casualties. Bulgaria, Serbia, Greece, and Montenegro, four already independent nations, quickly formed the Balkan League to support the uprising and completely expel Ottoman forces. This gained support from European powers like Russia, Austria-Hungary, Britain, and France. They provided weapons and military training to the Balkan League. With such backing, the League was full of confidence. In October 1912, the League declared war on the Ottoman Empire. The fighting lasted over 6 months, with Ottoman forces retreating steadily. Mediated by the great powers, the Ottomans completely withdrew from the Balkan Peninsula, and Albania gained independence. But parts of the territory were given to the Balkan League, while Macedonia was completely partitioned. And the problem was disputes within the League over the partition plan, particularly strong dissatisfaction from Bulgarians. During the war, the Bulgarian army was the main force, undertaking primary offensive tasks and suffering heavy casualties. Thus, Bulgarians believed they deserved the most in post-war benefits, even demanding exclusive control of Macedonia, which faced opposition from other nations. Serbia, Greece, and Montenegro began banding together against Bulgaria. In June 1913, Bulgarian forces launched a preemptive strike, attacking Macedonia. The Second Balkan War erupted. Bulgaria was certainly strong, but fighting 1 against 3 was too much to handle. Worse, the Ottoman Empire seized the chance to invade Bulgaria. Surrounded on all sides, Bulgaria could only surrender. Per the armistice, Bulgaria ceded most land gained in the previous war, a classic case of overreaching and ending up worse off. The consequence of the Second Balkan War was Bulgaria's severe weakening, withdrawing from the contest for Balkan dominance. Corresponding, Serbia's power greatly increased, becoming the strongest Balkan nation. Serbian ambitions were ignited. They aspired to dominate the peninsula and lead all South Slavs. This brought conflict with Austria-Hungary. Little did anyone know this would become the spark igniting World War I. Part 3. The Powder Keg of Europe. The Two World Wars and the Birth of Yugoslavia. We'll discuss this topic. As mentioned earlier, around the 15th century, Austria controlled Slovenia and Croatia in the Northwest Balkans. And in 1867, the Austrian Empire was restructured into the Austro-Hungarian Empire, further expanding southward into the Bosnia and Herzegovina region. Why choose Bosnia and Herzegovina? Because Bosnia and Herzegovina borders the Adriatic Sea, providing direct access to the Mediterranean, a crucial location, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire desperately needed such a seaport. In October, the Austro-Hungarian Empire annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina, thwarting Serbia's plan to dominate the Balkans and causing strong resentment among Serbians. Russia, meanwhile, fanned the flames behind the scenes, trying to halt Austro-Hungarian expansion through Serbia. Serbia also needed support from a major power, creating a joint resistance with Serbia openly and Russia covertly against Austria-Hungary. The Austro-Hungarian Empire found itself isolated and turned to ally with Germany. Meanwhile, Germany's infiltration into the Balkans alarmed Britain and France, as neither wanted Germany's influence to grow further. Thus, Britain, France, and Russia formed the Entente powers to oppose the Central Powers centered around Germany and Austria-Hungary. The struggle between the Entente and the Central Powers focused intensely on the Balkan Peninsula. It was from this point that the Balkans were called the powder keg of Europe, and a powder keg is bound to explode eventually. In June 1914, Austro-Hungarian Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife visited Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina. While the Archduke's motorcade was driving through Sarajevo streets, it was attacked, and Franz Ferdinand and his wife both died. Investigations revealed that the assassins were 3 Serbian students who hated Austria-Hungary, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire concluded that the assassination was orchestrated by the Serbian government and declared war on Serbia on July 28, 1914. Russia and France quickly responded by initiating full national mobilization. Seeing this, Germany declared war on both countries, and Britain declared war on Germany. Thus, the Entente and Central Powers were fully at war. World War I broke out. At the war's outbreak, the Austro-Hungarian Empire had over 50 million people and 2 million troops. Serbia had a total population of 3 million and could only mobilize 400,000 troops. A huge disparity in strength. Yet the Serbian army was highly combat effective and at one point beat the Austrians soundly. At a critical moment, Bulgaria, aiming to recover territory lost in the Second Balkan War, joined the Central Powers and deployed 700,000 troops to invade Serbia. The Serbian army couldn't hold out and was forced to retreat to Albania. Most of Serbia had fallen, and the nation faced imminent collapse, but then a turning point emerged. In 1917, America entered the war, sealing the fate of the Central Powers' defeat. Meanwhile, in the Balkan theater, with Greece and Romania joining, the Entente's strength completely surpassed that of the Central Powers. In the fall of 1918, the Entente launched a counteroffensive and recaptured all of Serbia. That November, Austria-Hungary and Germany surrendered successively, ending WN. Even before the war ended, Slovenia and Croatia, formerly part of Austria-Hungary, declared independence and sought union with Serbia. Post-war, these three regions established the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. The Kingdom of Yugoslavia spanned 248,000 square kilometers, with nearly 12 million people, a medium-sized nation. It gained recognition from European powers. After WWN, the collapse of Tsarist Russia, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman empires created a Balkan power vacuum filled by Yugoslavia. The great powers hoped it would maintain regional stability. So initially, Yugoslavia's external situation was favorable, but its internal governance proved far more complicated. Yugoslavia adopted a constitutional monarchy with the king as head of state and a cabinet formed by the parliamentary majority. Nominally, Serbia, Croatia, and Slovenia had equal status and political participation rights. But in reality, Serbs controlled most military and political resources. King Alexander I was Serbian, and from the prime minister to foreign minister to military leadership, all were uniformly Serbian, naturally breeding discontent among other ethnic groups. Croatian and Slovenian parliamentarians tried every means to obstruct proceedings, making Yugoslav politics extremely unstable. From 1918 onward, over a decade, Yugoslavia cycled through 25 cabinets, the shortest lived lasting nearly 1 week. In early 1929, King Alexander I staged a coup, dissolved parliament, banned political parties, and concentrated all power in his hands. His justification was that politics had become irredeemably chaotic. Only absolute monarchy could unite the fractured nation, but timing was unlucky. That autumn, the Great Depression erupted in America and quickly spread into a global financial crisis. Affected by this, Yugoslav factories shuttered, exports and agriculture plummeted, and the economy descended into chaos. Alexander I responded with repressive policies against dissenters, provoking fierce backlash. In October 1934, while visiting Marseille, France, Alexander I was assassinated by opposition forces. After his death, the 10-year-old crown prince succeeded him, making the political situation even more turbulent. Meanwhile, the external environment was changing dramatically, as Italy and Germany established fascist regimes and began foreign expansion, with both powers quickly penetrating the Balkans. In response, Yugoslavia, Romania, Greece, and Turkey signed the Balkan Pact to collectively safeguard regional security. To contain Germany and Italy, Britain and France expressed support. The problem was this: support remained verbal. In practice, Britain and France kept appeasing the Nazis, while the Balkan states alone couldn't resist. Seeking self-preservation, countries turned toward Germany. Take Yugoslavia. By 1939, trade with Germany accounted for 50% of its total imports and exports, creating deep economic dependence. The Balkan Pact became virtually defunct. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Britain and France declared war on Germany, starting World War II. Yugoslavia declared neutrality to maintain independence. New, uh, but no egg stays unbroken when the nest overturns. Under Nazi pressure, Hungary to Yugoslavia's north and Romania and Bulgaria to its east joined the fascist camp. Soon Italy invaded Greece. Completely isolated, the Yugoslav government reluctantly joined the Axis powers on March 26, 1941, a deeply unpopular move. The next day, the Yugoslav military staged a coup, formed a new government, contacted Britain, and openly opposed the Nazis. Enraging Germany, Hitler convened an emergency meeting and decided to attack Yugoslavia. For this, he even postponed the invasion of the Soviet Union. Thus, Yugoslavia's resistance objectively bought the USSR precious preparation time. In April 1941, German forces attacked from 3 directions. Yugoslavia's army collapsed, ending the kingdom after just over 2 decades, its territory carved up by Axis powers. From the 15th century Ottoman-Austrian partition of the Balkans to the Nazi destruction of Yugoslavia, we see the Balkans consistently serving as pawns in great power games, never controlling its own destiny. Yet, surprisingly, after World War II, Yugoslavia not only rose from ashes but forged an independent path. How is this achieved? Now we'll cover Part 4, maintaining balance while navigating between the Eastern and Western blocs. In May 1945, Nazi Germany surrendered, bringing World War II to an end. In the post-war international order, Southeast European nations, including Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Poland, and Bulgaria, all became Soviet satellite states, except Yugoslavia.
Not only did it maintain significant independence, but it even broke with the Soviet Union at one point.
Yugoslavia's confidence stemmed directly from its World War II record.
After the Kingdom of Yugoslavia fell, the Communist Party immediately organized armed resistance.
When the Soviet-German War erupted, German forces shifted eastward, allowing Yugoslav communists to reclaim territory, forcing Germany to deploy suppression troops. By late 1943, 300,000 Yugoslav fighters pinned down 600,000 Axis troops, including 24 German divisions, greatly easing pressure on other European fronts. By 1944, 2/3 of Yugoslav land was liberated. That June, Allies landed in Normandy, while the Soviets counterattacked, liberating Romania and Bulgaria. The USSR provided equipment and troops to help recapture Belgrade. Subsequently, Yugoslav forces launched a full offensive, liberating the entire nation. In November 1945, the Federal People's Republic of Yugoslavia was established with communist leader Tito as prime minister. Unlike Poland or Hungary, liberated by Soviet troops, Yugoslavia freed itself primarily through its own efforts, avoiding foreign manipulation. Post-WWN, the Soviet-led Warsaw Pact and US-led NATO bloc competed fiercely, creating prolonged confrontation. This Cold War placed Yugoslavia in a delicate position. NATO members Greece, South, and Italy, West, surrounded it, while Warsaw Pact nations encircled its east and north. Alignment with either bloc risked hostility from the other. What to do? Tito's solution: align with neither bloc, instead pursuing balanced diplomacy between NATO and the Warsaw Pact. Thus, when Stalin demanded Yugoslavia fully side with the USSR, Tito firmly refused. He calculated it clearly. By keeping distance from the Soviet Union, Western nations would view Yugoslavia as a partner worth courting with aid, crucial for the war-ravaged country. That's sure enough. From 1951 to 1955, the US, UK, France, and others gave Yugoslavia $4.25 total in aid, while West Germany received only $1.03 during the same period. With this massive funding, Yugoslavia built its heavy industries like transport machinery, chemicals, and petroleum. In trade-focused explanation, Western countries bypassed socialist bloc embargoes, buying Yugoslav farm and industrial goods, while allowing imports of advanced Western tech. The West's sole aim was using Yugoslavia to contain the USSR, a card Tito played masterfully for economic growth. Within a decade, Yugoslav industry tripled. GDP grew 9.2% annually and living standards soared. Such progress made Soviet satellites deeply envious. Naturally, Tito's Western cooperation had limits. He'd never be a puppet. After Stalin's death, Yugoslavia began repairing Soviet ties. In 1956, Tito led a delegation to Moscow, issuing a joint declaration. Relations normalized, but Tito didn't distance from America. He visited the U.S. twice, 1963 and 1970, while Presidents Ford and Carter visited Yugoslavia. The U.S. remained Yugoslavia's fourth largest trade partner and top investor. They signed cultural, tech, and military cooperation deals. The West even waived visas for Yugoslav citizens, meaning visa-free travel to Europe or America. This East-West balancing act birthed a unique economic model. Neither pure Soviet planning nor Western capitalism. The state created SOEs and guided activity while preserving private enterprise. For example, as late as the 1960s, 80% of farmland remained privately cultivated. Meanwhile, Yugoslavia actively attracted foreign investment. Since 1965, capital from countries like the US, UK, and Germany flooded into Yugoslavia, investing in oil, automotive, cement, power generation, and other sectors. Yugoslavia's integration into the global market was unimaginable for the Soviet Union and its satellites. By 1980, Yugoslavia's per capita GDP reached $2,500, ranking 35th in the world, and the public's purchasing power increased by over 25%. TVs, refrigerators, washing machines, and private cars entered countless households, and the agricultural population dropped from 70% to 28%, marking Yugoslavia's basic completion of urbanization. These achievements were quite remarkable among the many countries in Southeast Europe. Thus, since the late 1970s, the Soviet Union and Eastern European countries frequently sent delegations to Yugoslavia to learn from its experience. Faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, the book we'll be interpreting for you is called A Comprehensive History of Yugoslavia. The author is Mashi Poo, an expert on Balkan issues and a special researcher at the Development Research Center of the State Council's Institute of Eurasian Social Development. So, from 1982 to 1985, he studied and lived in Yugoslavia, gaining first-hand experience of its history and culture. Yugoslavia is a country that no longer exists, but it was once the largest and most powerful nation on the Balkan Peninsula. From 1918 to 1992, during its more than 70 years of existence, the world underwent dramatic changes, including the brutal World War II, the prolonged Cold War, and countless upheavals. Almost every time, Yugoslavia managed to survive safely and attract international attention with its unique stance. Until the early 1990s, it plunged into a bloody civil war and eventually split into 6 republics. As a country, Yugoslavia became a historical term, but this doesn't mean the South Slavs have exited the stage of history. Katan, Boston. In fact, as an important branch of the Slavic people, the South Slavs have settled in the Balkan Peninsula for over 1,500 years, creating a splendid civilization. No. To this day, many writers, scholars, and artists remain active in the public eye, such as Marina Abramović, a pioneer of Western performance art, and Slavoj Žižek, the most influential contemporary Western Marxist scholar. They are all South Slavs and spent the first half of their lives in Yugoslavia. Chinese people also have deep memories of Yugoslavia. The Yugoslav film Walter Defends Sarajevo was spiritual nourishment for generations. The theme song Goodbye Friend and the classic line, "The air is trembling as if the sky is burning," were widely popular. The book, A Comprehensive History of Yugoslavia, we're discussing today, outlines the struggles of the South Slavs over millennia and the rise and fall of Yugoslavia with clear strokes. My narration will be divided into 5 parts. Part 1, Early History of the Balkan Peninsula and the South Slavs. Part 2, Fighting for Independence, Breaking Free from Foreign Rule. Part 3,
The powder keg of Europe, the two world wars, and the birth of Yugoslavia.
Part 4, Maintaining Balance, Navigating Between the Eastern and Western Blocs. Part 5, Collapse, the process of Yugoslavia's dissolution. And finally, we'll discuss the aftermath of the dissolution. Okay, let's begin now. Part 1, Early History, the South Slavs, and the Balkan Peninsula. In the southeastern part of the European continent, there are two peninsulas that extend deep into the Mediterranean Sea. One is the Apennine Peninsula, where Italy is located today. The other is the Balkan Peninsula. The term Balkan originates from Turkish, meaning mountains or mountainous. This vividly depicts the geographical features of the Balkans. Mountains stretch continuously with range upon range. According to statistics, mountains occupy about 70% of the entire Balkan area. In a broad sense, the Balkan region includes over a dozen countries like Romania, Bulgaria, Serbia, Greece, etc. However, generally when people talk about the Balkans, they mainly refer to the 6 republics of the former Yugoslav Federation: Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, Macedonia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Montenegro, as well as 2 autonomous provinces, Kosovo and Vojvodina. They have different customs and beliefs, but they're all considered Slavs, and their languages belong to the Slavic language family, so they can communicate with each other. The Slavs aren't a unified nation, but rather more like a tribal alliance.
In ancient Europe, they were spread across a vast area, stretching from east of present-day Germany all the way to Russia.
From the 4th to the 6th century AD, the Slavic tribes gradually split into 3 major branches: East, West, and South. The one that entered the Balkan Peninsula is called the South Slavs. They're considered the common ancestors of modern Bulgarians, Serbians, and Croatians. Due to crisscrossing mountains dividing the Balkans into basins and valleys, even small plains became isolated by peaks, so Slavic tribes remain fragmented and autonomous, making it hard for South Slavs to maintain ethnic homogeneity. This happened because they intermarried with local natives and blended with other ethnic groups migrating into the Balkans. For example, ancient Croatians were originally Balkan natives. After Slavic arrival, they gradually adopted Slavic language and customs, assimilating into South Slavs, a process called Slavicization. I infer, in this context, scattered South Slavic tribes grew increasingly distinct, with only the Slavic language connecting them. From the 9th century AD, some South Slavic tribes developed into states like the kingdoms of Serbia, Bosnia, and Croatia. Let's illustrate this using Serbia's journey as an example. Serbia lies in the central northern Balkans, with the Orthodox Byzantine Empire to its southeast. In the late 9th century, Serbs converted to Orthodoxy and came under Byzantine rule. By the mid-12th century, Byzantine territory shrank dramatically due to crises, giving Serbs room to expand. They seized this chance to rise, annexing Byzantine lands. In 1189, a tribal leader named Nemanjića founded the Kingdom of Serbia and continued encroaching on Byzantine territory. This peaked during the reign of the 11th king, Stefan Dušan. Dušan first secured his eastern flank by marrying into Bulgaria. Then, exploiting Byzantine civil strife, he launched attacks reaching central or northern Greece. At its height, Serbia controlled 2/3 of the Balkans. In 1345, shortly after proclaiming himself emperor, Dušan gained Orthodox Church recognition as emperor of Serbs, Greeks, Bulgarians, and Albanians. This title shows Dušan aimed to build a Serbian empire and become the supreme South Slavic ruler. So, could Dušan's vision succeed? The answer is no. This was determined by the Balkans' external circumstances. Serbia's rapid expansion wasn't solely due to its strength. It largely benefited from the Turks. The Turks originated in Central Asia and gradually migrated westward to Asia Minor under Byzantine rule, now the Anatolian Plateau, the main part of modern Turkey. Skilled in warfare, by the early 14th century, they had fully controlled the region, established the Ottoman Empire, while the Byzantine Empire clung desperately to its capital, Constantinople. So, preoccupied with fighting the Turks, Byzantium neglected its western frontier, allowing Serbia to seize territory opportunistically. Now, with Byzantium dying, Serbia faced the Ottomans directly. From the mid-14th century, Ottoman forces frequently crossed the Dardanelles Strait to raid. In September 1991, a month after Macedonia declared independence, Bosnia and Herzegovina also became independent and gained international recognition. And by this point, the Yugoslav Federation consisted only of Serbia, Montenegro, and two autonomous provinces. Therefore, in April 1992, the Yugoslav Federation was restructured into the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, FR Yugoslavia, with only 40% of the original area and 45% of the population. From the birth of the Kingdom of Yugoslavia in 1918 to the collapse of the Yugoslav Federation in 1991, Yugoslavia endured over 70 turbulent years before finally disintegrating. This perhaps shows that, given the Balkan Peninsula's fragmented geography and complex cultural diversity, achieving lasting unity is difficult. Finally, we'll discuss the aftermath of Yugoslavia's dissolution. After WH1, due to the Yugoslav Federation's existence, the Balkan Peninsula maintained over 40 years of peace. Once the Federation dissolved, suppressed ethnic and regional conflicts inevitably erupted, making the Balkans the powder keg of Europe again. In June 1991, Serbs in Croatia attempted independence and union with FR Yugoslavia, sparking war between Croatia and FR Yugoslavia. Within 6 months, both sides suffered 140,000 casualties, with another 500,000 becoming refugees. Then, problems arose in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where Serbs, making up 31% of the population, sought independence, opposed by the Bosnian government. Civil war broke out, with the Bosnian War causing about 200,000 deaths and 2 million displaced. At the end of 1995, parties signed a peace agreement in Paris, ending the war, but disputes did not cease. The 1999 Kosovo War was another aftermath of Yugoslavia's dissolution. It wasn't until 2006, when Montenegro seceded from the state union of Serbia and Montenegro, that the dissolution process was essentially complete. Thus, the former Yugoslav Federation split into 6 independent nations: Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, Macedonia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Montenegro, each pursuing their own path. Yugoslavia as a nation has become a historical term. However, this book's author argues Yugoslavia left a valuable legacy for posterity. First, during Yugoslavia's existence, the Balkans maintained internal stability with significantly reduced regional and ethnic conflicts. This played a crucial role in preserving Southeastern Europe's stability. Second, post-WHY federal policies drove industrialization and urbanization, dramatically improving economies and livelihoods in underdeveloped regions. This explains why many in former Yugoslav territories still cherish its memory today. Ultimately, Yugoslavia collapsed from unmanaged ethnic tensions and external pressures, a painful lesson for other nations. Yugoslavia's life cycle traces a nation's complete trajectory of rise and fall. It offers lessons to avoid repeating history's mistakes. All right, that concludes a comprehensive history of Yugoslavia. Study notes are below the audio. Until next time.